Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is three well-postured men talking about sports for the next 45 minutes.
I am sitting erect.
Okay.
Oh.
Whoa.
I think I'm sitting too close.
So what? I think that's a new record. 30 seconds in, we're already off the rails. July 18th, this is episode 117. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, use a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Matt Roy, Don Harris, Chuck McIntyre. Yesterday was the worst day on the sports calendar. I will always contest that because it was the day after the All-Star game, which means nothing's happening. No basketball, no football, no hockey, no baseball.
We had basketball.
There was women's basketball, so that's important.
Summer League.
That doesn't count.
Women's basketball counts more than Summer League.
Yes, because it's actually going towards win-loss record. Caitlin Clark set the WNBA assist record last night.
Okay.
Wait, did you say that women's basketball counts more than Summer League?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted
because they're in the
I wanted
regular.
to mark that. I wanted to get the time. I wanted to
regular
put the time code down.
any regular season counts more than Summer League does. Any regular season. What?
Okay.
What? I don't think that's a hot take here.
It's a Gen X thing?
I guess.
First of all, I'm a millennial.
Whatever.
I'm not part of the Gen Z whatever. Anyway.
I better be quiet.
We got...
I will be canceled if I said what's true.
Anyway, we have never mind. I'll talk to you about that later.
Don't tell ESPN and Bronny that women's basketball is more important than Bronny scoring 6 points in a game.
I'm trying to go.
It gets the headline.
I'm trying to go as long as possible without talking about Bronny on this podcast. So we finally got a price tag on a Lauri Markkanen trade. We now know that it's going to take the heaven, the earth, the moon, and the stars to get Lauri Markkanen out of the Utah Jazz. So we'll talk about what that would look like in a Spurs trade if they decided to pull the trigger. And also we'll get into they re-signed Charles Bassey and Mamu. I'm not going to try and pronounce the rest of his name because I'll get it wrong. I already pronounced Sohan wrong, so I'm not going to try that. So are they done making moves? Are they going to try for Markkanen? What's the ceiling of this current team? We'll talk about all that today. Plus, Don's favorite subject, ESPN's Top 100 was released today. Top 100 athletes of the 2000s. One of our near and dear, Tim Duncan, rated in the top 20. Is that too high, too low?
100% scientifically.
Just right. We'll talk about that. Plus, Chuck was at the All-Star week on Monday. Got some fun stuff from the guys up there, so we'll talk to Chuck a little bit about that. But first, we start with trivia. You weren't here on Monday. We are done with the number game because we completed all the numbers.
Okay.
So now we're going to trivia.
Oh, geez. Here's another good thing I'm good at.
This
one you'll get.
Also, Chuck, do you know you have your headphones around your neck?
I do, because I noticed that I can not hear you guys speaking. Well, not everybody's hooked up to my headphones.
Oh,
so
okay.
Just leave it at that.
All right, deal.
So,
anyway.
Technical issues.
plus, I don't want to mess up my hair.
Great hair.
What hair did I
Anyway,
have
so this
left?
is our trivia question. We're going to ask the trivia question now. We'll go through a segment. We'll answer the trivia question. I think I made it a little too easy today. Which Dallas Cowboy player was the first player and the only player in NFL history to be named the Super Bowl MVP from a losing team? Give everyone a second to think about it. Everyone at home, chime in.
It's too easy.
I think it's a little easy. Mondays was a little harder, so we'll go with that. But anyway, that's the question. The only player in NFL history to be the Super Bowl MVP on a losing team. So answer that here in a little bit. But first, we'll get to the Lauri Markkanen stuff. So,
wait, hold on.
Yes.
Last week, when you asked the trivia question, then we waited forever to answer. Monday. God, whenever that was. God, it seems like a month ago. I was getting texts from people that said, I thought you knew the answer. And they were mad that I wasn't jumping in to answer right away. So should we answer right away?
If you know it right away. No, let's wait. Because I want everyone else to tune in and answer as well in the comments and stuff like that. So if you guys know it, I guarantee you do know this one, actually. Because I think even I knew this one, and I'm not even old. So, yeah, we'll wait for everybody. Chuck and Don know the answer. Everybody.
I do not know the answer off the top of my head.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I mean, if you say it, I'll know it. But
You'll know it.
okay. Now, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead. That's cool. Play along at home, though.
Play along at home.
I think it's the only Super Bowl where the Cowboys wore their bad luck blue jerseys.
Is it?
Yeah.
Super Bowl 5?
Yeah.
All right, a little hint for you. Anyway, we know what it'll take to get Markkanen out of Utah now. Shams is reportedly saying that it'll take numerous first-round picks, numerous second-round picks, pick swaps, and young talent to get Markkanen out of Utah. They very clearly don't want to trade him. They were talking in terms of the Warriors, and it would take something along the lines of Brandon Pajemski, Jonathan Kuminga, multiple first-round picks, and multiple second-round picks to get for that trade to go through.
Spurs don't have anybody that good.
Devin Vassell's better than both of those guys. So
Yeah, well,
the question
one
really
player.
is he worth that to a team like the Spurs, or is he more worth that to a team like the Warriors, where they're trying to hold on and build a team for Steph's last run?
I think you just wait. You don't give them what they want. You just wait. They're going to have to either move him at the deadline, and if he wants to be there, he'll sign there, and then they can move him at the deadline. Or if he doesn't want to be there and they want to get something in return, they'll move him at the deadline, and the price might be cheaper.
Yeah, I'm with Don. I mean, I think you've got to wait this thing out. If that's the asking price right now, then maybe that's the right price for the Spurs or another team, right? Because
we're talking what,
based on what you see in the summer league going on, the players in the NBA that can play are already in the NBA, right? I mean, some of these other guys. I mean, you brought up Bronny earlier. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, there's more of the guys like Bronny in the summer league than there are going to be guys that can play like Markkanen. So if the Spurs feel like that was a guy that they felt like could play long term and be a guy worth paying an exorbitant amount of money and give up the assets to get him, then I say go for it. But we don't know if that's what they really think.
Devin Vassell's the trade chip. It's not like they're asking for a Keldon or a Jeremy who have a little bit less trade value. They would probably ask for, and they're rumored to be asking for Devin Vassell, who the Spurs are on record as being very, very high on. They love him, and they love the fit next to Wemby as long as Vassell can mature a little bit basketball-wise. So
they'd probably be asking for Vassell and Sohan.
They would probably ask for both, correct? If they're asking for Kuminga and Pajemski, they'd probably but I think you could get out of it by just doing Vassell if you really like Jeremy that much. I could see them dealing Vassell halfway through the season. Like if you see how everything's meshing with this
Castle
current roster,
really comes along.
Yeah, 100%. But if let me give this to you. If this is too much, say too much. If it's not, if you're willing to do it, then say you're willing to do it. Vassell,
okay,
25 first round pick, not the Hawks pick, the Spurs pick in 25, Spurs pick in 27, Spurs pick in 29, pick swaps in the other 2 years, 26 and 28.
No.
So basically 5 firsts in Vassell.
Not those firsts. I'm not giving up next year. Next year they're going to win 35 games. They're going to have a top 10 pick next year. I'm not giving up.
But you're not giving up the Hawks pick. You're giving up the Spurs pick.
Yeah, but the Hawks are going to be better than the Spurs. So the Spurs is the better asset. The Spurs are going to pick 8th, and the Hawks are going to pick 12th.
The Hawks aren't going to be 12th.
They're going to be better than the Spurs.
No, they're not.
Okay.
Why don't I have a crystal ball, right?
Is that too much, Chuck, for a player that you believe in? If they believe in him?
Well, no. If they believe in him, probably not. But again, do you believe that? Again, I mean, you're doing the math with that many picks and all that. I mean, I would find it hard to believe that they would value him like that. That is a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah, I could, but that's what it's going to go for. Like. He's basically going to sign his extension on August 6th, which is going to mean you can't trade for him until February 6th, with, ironically enough, I believe that's the trade deadline is 6th or 7th or something like that. So you're going to have basically 6 months to evaluate this current roster and say, okay, Lauri can take us from B to C. Because right now I think they're going from A to B with the guys that they signed.
And remember, you're going to have to sign him to a 5-year max extension.
He'll have already re-signed at that point. You'll be trading for the contract.
You'll be inheriting that contract.
Yeah.
That's a lot for Lauri Markkanen. I like him. I've always liked him. When he was in Chicago, I wanted him. But that's – and not Devin. It's more the picks. Mm-hmm. Depending – like I would give up the 31 pick swap and those – but not 25 because the Spurs pick in 25 – and the Hawks pick in 25, Spurs they could be like they were this year, 4-8 again. or 5-11. They're going to have 2 really good picks.
And it's a better draft.
It's a much better draft. So I'm not giving up those picks. I might give up some picks further down the road, Vassell and Branham or something like that. But man, I'm not giving up prime picks. Not 5 of them. And that's what the price is going to be. I mean, look at Bridges and what they got.
But you're gonna end up. You've been talking, just throwing a name out there. You've been talking about Devin Booker for forever.
I'd give up that for Devin Booker.
You'd give that up for Devin Booker, but Lauri Markkanen is younger than Devin Booker is.
Yeah,
he's less of a superstar, I would say.
Yeah, much less.
But he's still ascending. I would say Devin Booker is what he is at this point. He's already established.
Yeah, Markkanen's really good. I don't know. That's a tough one.
But Chuck, could you see 6 months down the road? Basically, he's going to re-sign and if he doesn't re-sign, then he's done in a year anyway, and you can sign him in free agency. So let's just assume that Lauri Markkanen, and this is the general consensus around the league so far, is that Lauri Markkanen is going to sign on August 6th. He's going to have 6 months with the Jazz, and then they're going to evaluate his trade value on February 6th. If the Spurs start and they're 25-20 at the February deadline, you see how this roster constructs itself. Is that a trade you would want them to make?
For sure. I mean, I would argue that even if things aren't going well, maybe there's value then at that point anyway. And maybe it doesn't serve the player Markkanen very well at the time because he'd be going to a, team that's not going very far. But if you are trying to build your team long term, it might be a little more, from the Spurs standpoint, I could see even if you're not doing well, do something or make a splash trade even to start giving the fan base hope for the following year.
Doesn't that also give you a little bit more a look inside of where the picks are going to end up being? Like if the Spurs suck, if the Hawks suck by February 6th, you're going to have at least 2 top 6 picks at that point. I think then it makes them even more valuable.
Besides the draft picks, I think 2 things are in play, right? One is, are the Spurs in pursuit of an unrestricted free agent who may want to come play with Wemby, where you don't have to give up those assets to get a great player? So instead of giving the Jazz all this assets, there might be a guy that they say that we have a plan and we're doing this. We have Barnes and Paul, and they're going to go off the radar, and then we're going to replace them with younger talent. There might be a guy that they've already determined is going to be an unrestricted free agent that they don't have to give up anything for, as long as he wants to come here and play for Wemby, because you can offer him all the money in the world. That's one. And the second one is Castle's development. If Castle, by mid-season, is a guy that you think is going to be better than Devin Vassell, then Vassell becomes expendable.
Tell me if this is a bad comp. I look at Devin Vassell like I look at Drew Holiday. Stephon Castle like I look at Drew Holiday. Great defender.
Yep.
Developed a really good three-point shot. Sees the floor really well. Is kind of a do-everything kind of person.
If he turns out to be Drew Holiday, it's one of the greatest picks in Spurs history.
All right, let's get to the trivia answer real quick.
Agree.
Just to
don't see it quite yet, though.
To remind everybody what the question was: which Dallas Cowboys player was the first in NFL history and the only in NFL history to be named Super Bowl MVP from a losing team? Bob, you want to go first?
We got no takers.
No takers. Wow. All right, Don, give us the answer.
Chuck, number 54, not Randy White.
And not Bob Lilly.
Bob Lilly was 74.
Starts with an H.
Yeah.
You share a name with him.
Chuck Howley. Very nice. Okay,
Very
see,
good.
I get there eventually.
Ding,
Okay.
ding, 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 ding.
Chuck Howley had 2 interceptions and a fumble
Don't know that
recovery.
Without the hints, I never would have got that.
In Cowboys.
Dominated the game.
It was the 5th Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl 5?
Super Bowl 5.
Against the Colts.
First Super Bowl I ever watched.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was the year before they won with Staubach, correct?
Yes.
They won Super Bowl 6
against the Dolphins.
And Staubach, I think,
In
was
New
the
Orleans.
MVP of that game.
Yes. And Ditka scored threw a touchdown to Mike Ditka.
Nice. All right. See, there's your trivia. I'm going to have a little harder question on Monday. I've established
And
that.
then the Dolphins, which
go
was
baseball for Chuck on Monday.
which was interesting, is like the
Don will probably get that too.
the Cowboys lost 5 and won 6. The Dolphins lost 6 and won 7. Did the Colts lose 4? No, they lost.
Now you're just
3.
showing off now.
Yeah.
Shush. So the Spurs.
Shush him.
So the Spurs also re-signed Mamu and Charles Bassey. That brings their roster to 15 players.
Chuck's favorite player on the
Charles
roster.
Bassey.
Charles Bassey.
Said it before, said it a million times. Good for him. Glad he got guaranteed money. Worked out great for everybody.
So that brings their roster to 15 players. That pretty much cements that they're done for this offseason. They might make a small move here and there, procedural stuff, two-way players, stuff like that. But for the most part, their main core group, their 12, 15 players, pretty set. So right now,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I think there's still maybe some moving parts too.
How big of moving parts? Is it like getting
Keldon.
a shooter here every now and then?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're shopping Keldon.
For
I don't know.
what would you like to see? What would you think
And
they would
Devin
shop
Booker?
Keldon for?
An equal player, different position. Equal player, different position. Big guy.
Like a stretch 4, or
Yeah.
or like an actual big, like a
Yeah.
Jonas Valanciunas kind of big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
big guy.
an enforcer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Equal player,
But don't they
bigger
need
guy.
they need more shooting though?
Keldon's not a shooter.
Yeah, but that's my point is like
Yeah.
you trade Keldon for a shooter or trade him for another guard or something like that. Or you bank on Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell becoming really good 3-point shooters.
Neither are.
Exactly. So that's my question as we currently are constructed right now. Barring another move, maybe getting rid of Keldon or changing some things up. We kind of have the core here. Devin, Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, Wemby, Zach Collins, obviously all those guys. What's the ceiling for this team as currently constructed? Put your crystal ball,
Well,
crystal ball
45.
for me.
okay, the ceiling. I don't know. I spit too high last year. Now I'm a little gun shy.
We're so hurt by last
So,
year.
yes.
We really are.
So
I think we all predicted around 40 games last
I don't
year.
know. Did we ever check to see if this was true that there was a bonus kicker for Chris Paul?
It is. There is.
It was 32 or
32 wins.
33? Okay.
Whatever team he
So-
ends up with,
Okay.
if he moves, if that team is over 32, then he
Okay.
gets a kicker too.
Well, then I would say, as that contract is currently constructed, I would say in the 30s would be a pretty good idea of where they seem to think, at least from the Chris Paul camp, would go. Where they think this season's going to go. 40 wins?
I think if you look at how the roster kind of transformed this offseason or is continuing to transform this offseason, they needed 3 things when they came into it. Veteran leadership, which they got. They needed shooting. I don't know if they've gotten that.
little bit with Barnes.
Harrison Barnes is good,
A little bit.
but they haven't
Not enough.
significantly improved the shooting around Victor. I mean, Chris Paul can shoot a little bit too, but they haven't significantly improved it. And then they needed an enforcer, which you've been talking about. Zach Collins isn't that guy. Wemby's not that guy. You saw actually a couple, maybe it was last week, when France was playing Serbia, Nikola Jokic just trucked Wemby multiple times, like literally put his elbow into his sternum and was like, all right, here, stop me. He doesn't have that. Wemby's just not that kind of player. He needs the enforcer next to him on some occasions. There's 2 things that they haven't done. There's one thing they have. I don't really know if they've improved the team significantly to take that like super leap into a 7-8 seed. I think 40 win. If you put the over-under at 39.5 with this current roster,
It's 35.5.
I would maybe take the under, but it wouldn't be by much. I don't even know if I would take that number. 39.5.
Okay, let me change your mind. Let me change your mind, or try. They won 22 games last year.
Correct.
They lost 18 in a row playing Jeremy Sohan at point.
Don't remind me.
They're not going to do that again. They're not going to lose 18 in a row. Then they were number 1 in the league with 20 games of a blown 10-point or more lead. They're not going to do that again with Chris Paul running the show. They were number 2 in the league in blown fourth quarter leads with 20 games where they led in the fourth quarter and blew a lead. That's not going to happen again. So given what we saw at the end of the year, 7 out of their last 12 they won. Against Denver, who had to win that night to get home court. And they did it without Keldon and Vassell, who were on the bench. And they
were hurt at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, Wemby took over. That team that won 7 out of its last 12 down the stretch instead of the 18 losing in a row, the blown leads, add Castle, add Paul, add Barnes. To me, that's a 42-win team going in.
So they probably get into the play-in tournament.
Now,
Seven,
I also
eight,
said
9,
last
10.
year that they win 40 games.
Well,
But-
you weren't the only one.
We're
so-
hurt. We are hurt by that last year.
But I think they are now the team that we thought they were going to be last year, because they're not going to be just screwing around for 18 games in a row playing Jeremy Sohan at point guard.
It's true. If that's the ceiling, let's say 45 is the ceiling. Let's say 45 is the ceiling. What's the floor? Is the floor a season like we saw last year?
Injury, Wemby's healthy.
Wemby's healthy. What's the floor? Let's assume health. I mean, obviously, health is one of the biggest factors in anything. Health can derail any prediction. So let's assume everyone's healthy or generally healthy.
32.
32 is the floor?
I'd say it's similar to what the ceiling is, right? I mean, it's really kind of hard to tell at this point. Because, I mean, mostly and historically, how many times do teams double their win total from the year before? It doesn't happen very often, but not to say that it can't happen here. I mean, I think there were some positive things that happened towards the end of last year. And if they play like that to start the year, I mean, I said it a million times, this is a league that's ripe to be had. There's 4 or 5 really good teams, and then everybody else is kind of meh.
To that end, I mean, it is hard to tell, but I just don't know if they've improved that shooting aspect enough. It's just...
Yeah, and Vegas isn't impressed. They're picking 35.5, and Vegas is never off that much.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me. But I don't know if Vegas is really paying attention. They're paying attention maybe to roster players.
This is exactly what we said last year.
But the Sohan experiment just destroyed them last year. Here's the X factor, which no one's talking about, is don't put a ceiling on Wemby's improvement.
That's fair.
Because that dude...
The over-under last year was 29.5, and we all sat, not right here, but in these seats upstairs, saying that it was way too low, markedly too low, that they would win 40 games with Wemby at the helm, and that we would see drastic improvement from Devin and Jeremy and all these guys. Sure enough, they crapped out. We knew our predictions were dead by Christmas.
2 things happened. Pop decided to just watch for a month and see where Wemby wanted to play.
A month?
2 months. Watch where Wemby wanted to play. Then they moved him to where he could be successful. And then they sat back and watched Jeremy just go into the clown car. It was what they were doing on the court was absolutely just wasn't even basketball.
Okay, Pop watched until the All-Star break. Pop didn't do. I don't want to say he didn't do. I don't want to say he didn't do much, but you didn't see the coaching on the floor. You didn't see.
They were
that.
experimenting.
They were experimenting until the All-Star break, and then they got to the All-Star break, and they're like, "All right, this is how we're going to do things here."
Yeah.
And then they got better. So I don't know.
You did remember all those things that were written on the board too?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
pretty
telling.
That's sticking with you.
Yeah.
Throw him the dang ball.
In the comments, Carsick Collins says Wemby also has a full season of acclimation to the NBA. Remember, he was not nearly as good as the first half of the season last year. He really blossomed later. This is basically what Don said, and now we get that from game 1.
I'm a little concerned about his usage. He's going through this isn't really an off season for him. He's obviously going to play in the Olympics. He played late into last year. I mean, he hasn't had a lot. I know he's 20, but he's 7'4", and I get worried about I'm worried about him.
Hey, one other comment.
He's 20.
From Valis 14.
I remember those days.
Yes.
He says, why is everyone on the show such a Vassell hater?
I'm not a Vassell hater. I like Devin Vassell. I think he's really talented offensively, and he's a good defender too. I was frustrated with him at times early last season for not facilitating more to Wemby, but he got better at that in the pick and roll.
He did.
Especially late in the season. Not a hater of Devin at all. I think Devin's super talented.
I forgot the game. I think you and I were I think we were watching it together here in the sports department. There was a game when they were down by 2, needed a basket. Wemby rolled to the bucket and was wide open, and Devin Vassell takes a 28-footer and it clanks off the rim. And we were both sitting
really
here,
deep three.
We were both sitting here like, what are you doing? And it was just too many of those things last year that just bugged me about Devin.
I could see the play.
I don't remember
I can
saying anything bad about Devin Vassell.
No.
But you never said anything good, Chuck. I'm sure.
It's baseball season, Matthew.
To Don here from Michael Esperanza. He says, I hope the Spurs trade for DeJounte so Don would have to eat his words.
They're not trading for DeJounte.
He just got traded. So
What were my words?
I don't know.
you had a pretty hot take on DeJounte a little while ago.
Look, DeJounte's a good player. He was extremely immature, and there was a reason they didn't. The reason they parted ways.
All right. Ceiling 45, floor 32. Whatever gets Chris Paul's bonus, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and that's better. That's improvement, and I think a lot of Spurs fans would take 40. I think a lot of Spurs fans would take a 500 record.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course.
100%.
Yeah.
500 record,
Yep.
41 and 41.
Yep.
That gets you in the
Book it right now.
play-in. That gets
Yep.
you in the play-in.
Anything else before we move on?
Move on.
All right, moving on. To Don's favorite subject. We're going to briefly talk about ESPN ranks the top 100 athletes of the 2000s. Now, just as a preface, this is after the year, this is 2000 or later. So 1999 doesn't count. Anything before 2000 does not count. So we're just going to talk about the ones we care about here. Tim Duncan is 16. You look at who's above him just in the basketball rank. Kobe is 10. Steph Curry is 14. I don't think you can argue with those because in this ranking, you're taking away Tim's 5th championship. So if you count 4 championships and everything that he accomplished, you're also taking away his Rookie of the Year. So I think if you look at it that way, I get why he's ranked 16. But you look at the guys above him, Novak, Usain Bolt, Tiger Woods, Simone Biles, Roger Federer, LeBron James, Lionel Messi, Serena Williams, Michael Phelps. It's the most decorated athletes of the past 25 years.
Okay, what's the criteria?
Yeah.
How do we know that a swimmer who can't throw a ball is a better athlete than Tom Brady?
Okay.
What is the criteria?
And how is, like, Tom Brady, I mean, again, if you were playing any sport, right, on the playground, would Tom Brady be one of the top 5 people that you would take on
Well,
this
you're basing
list?
it on those
You
accomplishments.
got Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw throws a baseball weird. I love Clayton Kershaw, but come on, man.
Like I said, what's the criteria?
You're not just taking it on their athletic ability.
Okay, what is it?
You're taking it on accomplishments and what they've done in their given sport.
So, given in their sport, the domination of a given sport.
Yeah, and you look at Michael Phelps, and he's a 28-time medalist,
Okay.
a 23-time
But
gold
we're not
medalist.
saying he's a better athlete than
Yeah.
LeBron James.
You're saying he's a more accomplished athlete.
That would be more fair.
Okay.
I could
Then
get in-
say
I
it's the
could be
most
down with that.
accomplished. It's just stupid.
Okay,
But you know what I'll say?
I do have one other question for
I'll
you
say-
guys on this.
I'll say this, and you said it. The worst day of the year is the day after the All-Star
the
game.
day after the All-Star
So
game.
is that when
Right.
this came out?
They
Because
started it
I
on
feel their
Monday.
pain today because it's Thursday and it's SEC Media Days. And other than Mike Elko, Chuck, what are we going to fill our shows with today? ESPN said the same thing, so they came up with this stupid stuff.
Right.
So they got an intern. They got a series of interns sitting back there and they're like, hey, you guys come up with something that's going to cause Stephen A. Smith to lose his
It's coaches and executives and people who voted on it.
Of course.
Okay.
Let's see the list. Let's see the people that actually voted.
The only problem, so this is
John Jones, number 66.
the list is what it is. I do have a couple of issues with it. The only issues I really have because how am I supposed to know that if a cricket player who's in number 97, Virat Kohli, how am I supposed to know he's better than Asia Wilson? I do have an issue with Tony and Manu not being on the list because their entire careers spanned in the 2000s. All of their accomplishments are on here. They're both Hall of Famers. They both won multiple championships. They both have the accolades to be on this list, and you're going to put someone, I don't want to call anybody out, Darrell Revis over them or Pedro Martinez over them. Like,
You got
all
Lewis
great players.
Hamilton, who drives a car, is ahead of Aaron Donald.
Not an athlete.
Oh, it's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous.
All right, I knew this was what we were going to say, so let's go on.
Hey, Chuck, who's a better athlete, Mia Hamm
or Kobe
or
Bryant.
Mookie Betts?
Yeah, right.
Who knows? That's the question.
Mia Hamm, pride of Randolph High School.
Tony should be on this list. That's all I'm saying. So should Manu. Last thing we want to get to today, All-Star Week has now come and gone. Chuck was part of the sights and sounds of the All-Star festivities. You were there Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just Monday. So you were kind of like kid in a candy store. I would like to, before we get your...
Nobody loves baseball more than Chuck.
That's very true. except for maybe Hembo on Greeny, but that's besides the point. I would like to get to quickly the worst part of our entire weeks really quick before we get to the package that you put together last night. Luis, take it away.
That our flag was still there.
Cover your ears.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
What's worse, that one or Fergie?
The American League uniforms were worse than that.
No, they weren't. No, that's the worst. I don't want to talk bad about Ingrid because obviously she came out with a statement afterwards and said that she needs help and it was drunk that night and whatever. All I'm saying is I've sang drunk before. I get better, not worse.
Here's why the American. Here's in your mind in the shower, right?
Yeah, I've sang at karaoke at a bar drunk before, and I thought I sounded really good.
It just makes no sense. I mean, again, I don't know the gal, but I never heard of her either. It's like, this is the best you can do? I mean,
In Texas?
right? I mean,
where's the
like
Randy
out
Rogers
of nowhere,
man?
like how much money did that record company have to pay to slip her in the door to be able to go do this? I mean, I thought, when I heard the last name Andress, I was thinking of Ursula Andress, meow, but from back in the day. No?
Who's that?
Okay, well.
Put up a picture.
Who's
Ursula Andress?
Okay,
Yeah.
First of all, Ingrid Andress actually has a lot of good songs. She's a 4-time Grammy nominee.
Okay, well, then maybe it's me.
But she had a horrible night, and she provided us the worst national anthem I've ever heard. It's literally sounded like nails on a chalkboard.
Here's why the American League uniforms were worse than Ingrid Andress. You know why? Because whoever designed them, including the commissioner who signed off on them, was not drunk. That they took it seriously and came up with that.
But Fergie wasn't drunk either. She just stylistically wanted to perform the national anthem that way.
Shaka Khan did a really bad one too.
My general observation from this is this.
Were you in the building during the national anthem?
No, we left after we did all the media stuff on Monday. But like the players that are representing the game right now, to me, are great brand ambassadors for the game. And it's just amazing to me that on all levels, it seems like the league stifles their ability to just be themselves. I mean, they're funny, they're engaging. People that I thought kind of got, my image of, like Bryce Harper, affable, nice, friendly, not the image that I had of him going in before, Judge smiles, is congenial, has thoughtful things to say, and, they all talk great about each other. And then you have, it takes an hour to get your credential and get in the building. It just looks like everything seems like it's not run very well. And then, Rob Manfred, bless his heart, I'm sure he's doing the best he can, but, he goes to the draft and, he gets booed for, some of the stuff that he's done in the past. And then, and then he tries to go out there at some point again, and he takes a little kid with him, hoping that nobody will boo him, and they boo him anyway, and then he gets mad. It's like, well, what are you doing? This is just like this imaging from the management side doesn't mesh well with what they could be doing on the players' side to help build the game. I mean, there's never been more talent and talented guys. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz, this guy looks like J.J. Watt in a baseball uniform. I mean, he's huge.
Same with
Fantastic hair, by the way,
Jarren
too.
Duran, too.
Right. I mean, there's so many good things, and these guys are so much fun to watch and so talented in the things that they can do. And yet I feel like none of that gets branded that way.
There's most sports fans in America don't know who Ellie De La Cruz is.
Right.
And he is
Phenomenal.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
Instead, we get brawny.
Right. But it's like, the NBA. I mean, there's a reason why they're on ESPN all the time in terms of their programming, because it's written in their contract. Why doesn't baseball have something like that? And don't tell me it's not sellable, because it 100% is. I mean, I just not sure I get the direction from the 40,000-foot view that Manfred and those that run the league want to take it compared to what they have and what they could be selling.
To your point about how congenial the players are, I pulled your package from last night. You want to intro what that was? All the nice little bites that you put together?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so like, we're there for, it's cool. It's one-stop shopping, right? Great player here, great player here, great player here. You get 40 minutes with each league to talk to the stars, Astros notwithstanding, because nobody was there from the Astros, which is weird. But yeah, and this is what we got, some of it.
Black olives. Can't get behind those. Just trying to be safe.
Trigger speed.
How about a slide?
A slide? I like this slide.
Did you ever try to teach you that, or have you ever, how does he do that?
I don't know. He's smooth with it though.
Someone told me I slept with socks on, and that was kind of funny. I feel like that's a real insult. I'm sorry if any of you wear socks when you sleep.
Maybe 2017 in high, I didn't go to the All-Star game, but I got pitcher of the year of the league, so I didn't really understand that one. Pretty crazy.
Ain't no mountain high enough, maybe?
And would you give us a little sample?
No, absolutely not.
Carlos, were you ever an all-star snub growing up at any level, Little League or otherwise?
I don't know. I will have to ask my dad.
Steve Wong. This is so self-deprecating. I guess, I don't know. I don't know. Is water polo something really big? I can't swim very well, so I think just watching them do that and then play a sport, also knowing what's going under the water, is crazy to me. I'm like, oh my God, it's the best sport ever.
Agreed. I'm
like you said, very affable and
congenial.
Willing to play along.
Yeah.
I'm anti-black olive, so totally agree with Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
Black olives suck.
Not worse than beets.
Do you like black olives?
Beets.
I like black olives.
Do you like regular olives?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I
You like olives?
All olives are
Yeah,
good.
I do.
Olives are great. Beets are good too. What are you talking about?
Ooh,
Beets are
beets
fantastic.
no.
Beets suck. So
You
do olives.
know, Miss
Beets-
Ellie's Pizza, who's now out of business, used to make a little kind of a Caesar salad, and all they put on it was the lettuce, Parmesan cheese, and black olives. Simple.
Guess what we could
And
do?
the dressing, it was delicious.
I would never go to a restaurant and order that. Not because of the olives, because I can do that at home. Like,
Yeah.
Fair.
also the other point in there, if you sleep with socks on, I don't know how to help you. Do you
You don't sleep with my wife.
sleep with socks on?
Wait,
Dude,
Let
let me tell you something.
I wasn't gonna go there.
No.
Do we want
I hope
this?
she doesn't tune in on this one.
Let's just stop it right here.
That's a thermostat reference. That's a thermostat.
I gotta go do a Zoom.
Thermostat reference. It is so cold in my house that I sleep with pajama bottoms, socks, pajama top, sometimes that hoodie that I wore in here last. Like, it's colder in my bedroom than it is in here right now.
Okay, quick socks story. Jordan's best friend and my best friend, two separate people, Devin and Caleb. They both sleep with socks on. For my roommate Caleb, my college roommate, the second he gets out of the shower, socks are on. I don't think I've ever actually seen his feet, and I lived with him for like 2 years. Like, I don't understand some people's fascination with socks. I don't like socks that much.
Depends on the weather.
Especially when you're sleeping. Like, it just gets hot. No?
Does not get hot in my house.
Chuck, last word on the All-Star
Getting worse and worse.
game. Yeah, I know.
Temperature-wise,
I like it for all-star games at any sport. This is the best one. I mean, it's hard to fake your way through, getting into a batter's box and a guy throwing 104. I mean, there's some competition there, and doesn't always make for the great theater. The game the other night was close, but it was there were moments, but compared to football, and the NBA used to have a really good one, but that's devolved.
Yeah, that one sucks now.
Quick prediction.
Yeah.
My prediction is when Cyber Bob Gambert promotes this podcast this week, the clip that he's going to use is, "You're not sleeping with my wife. What's going on the latest Sneakers and Cleats?"
I thought he was going to use you sitting here erect part.
Oh, he'll clip them together.
We started with that today. Real quick, there was
He'll clip the two of them together. I'm sitting erect. You're not sleeping with my wife. What is Don Harris doing on Sneakers and Cleats?
Nothing hot happening in my house.
QR code on your screen right now. There was a request on our last episode on YouTube from Media Man that said that you do the best Avery Johnson impression.
So tired.
He wants to hear it before we. I told him I'd get you to do it before we leave.
It's so tired. It's so old. Okay, ask me a question as Avery. What would you interview Avery Johnson today as?
Avery, what was your favorite moment as a Spur?
Yeah, well, I think getting confidence with Coach Pye won the championship in '99. Yeah, that's good. How's the family? Tell them I said hi.
All right, that's good. There you go, Media Man. Everyone else, we will be back with a full football show on Monday.
That's good.
Football is starting next week. Dallas Cowboys camp kicking off on Thursday, actually. I think the media starts on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Zach is getting out there on Tuesday.
All
We're
right.
going to have a grand old
My
time.
man.
We'll try to stay on the rails on Monday, too. That's it for the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review. We'll see you back here on Monday.
That's good.
What are we going to film these shows with today? Did you interview him once? What? Did you interview him once? I will say that.